Boys, today we're gonna be going through the real heroes of the UFC. I'm not talking about those champions. I'm not even talking about number one contenders. I'm not even talking about, for the most part, the top 15. But instead, we're gonna pay some homage to the unks, the men who have fought the wars in the UFC, the men who have raised 6 kids, whether they're 36 years old or over 40 years old. We're gonna be crowning the best unk in each division. Again, whether they're in their 40s, whether they're going through a divorce, whether they've had 3 ACL surgeries, it don't matter. With that being said, like I said, we are gonna go through every single division and just pick the best unk. Now, I am going to have some honorable mentions for every single weight class because I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of unks in the UFC and it's hard to pinpoint, which one is the best one out of them all because like I said, there's a bunch of unks in the division and honestly, some of them deserve way more credit than what they should. First off, Flyweight division. Now, honorable mentions, I got 2 dudes here that deserve to be here. There can only be one winner, unfortunately, but they're all winners in my book. But right here, I got honestly one of the youngest unks in the division, and when you look at this dude, he just screams unk. He just looks like a typical unk. He looks like he just got off his second job at AutoZone. He gives that classic unbothered unk energy, and it's gotta be Charles Johnson. And again, he's only 34 years old, and when it comes to these other dudes, he's honestly one of, if not the youngest dude on this list, but I just couldn't have him. I just couldn't not put him on here. Honorable mentions, keep moving down. Another unk. Okay, I completely missed the bulk again because I got an even younger dude here. I got Alex Perez here. Another honorable mention at Flyweight. It feels like this dude's been in the UFC for a while now, even though he's only been here for 4 or 5 years. But again, he looks like a classic unk. It looks like every time he's in that cage, it could be his retirement fight. With that being said, definitely the youngest, I believe the youngest dude on this list. But let's get into the real unk. The best unk at Flyweight right now, it's got to be Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott is coming on 40 years old. He's 38 right now. He's on a little bit of a win streak as of recently, only losing to Moikaev, but it was a close fight there. And for the most part, this dude fights like his ex is in the crowd mentality. He's just a seasoned vet at this point. And again, one of these classic, drunk at the Sunday night barbecue looking ass unk. You're telling me you're heading over to the Sunday night barbecue and you're pulling up, and you wouldn't be surprised if you see this dude right here, drunk, trying to pick fights with some of the other unks here. The best unk in this division, but let's keep moving down to Bantamweight. Bantamweight, again, we got a good chunk of fighters here because there's just a lot of unks in this division. Let's get into the honorable mentions. Honorable mention, Ronnie Barcelos. Barcelos, he's been in the UFC on those prelims since the dinosaurs roamed the earth. He's still one of these dudes who wears the pride gloves during training. Classic unk, and as of recently, he's on a tear. He's on a back-to-back win streak over a former champion and then fraud checking Peyton Tabit. Arguably could have gone into the best one here, but I had to put some more respect on the winners. Keep moving down though. Of course, we have to have Rob Font here. Rob Font, also 38 years old, an unk in the division. Recently, 2-fight winning streak on back-to-back up-and-coming guys in Kyler Phillips and Gene Matsumoto. He's a good unk to have here. He's definitely starting to show that he's been in way too many 5-rounders and, not as many paychecks. And, he's not washed at this point. He's just getting dry age. That win streak is showing this dude ain't washed. He's a little bit seasoned. He's a little bit dry age at this point. But let's get down to the third unk. The third and final honorable mention, I have to go with the scariest unk in the division of Deiveson Figueiredo. 37 years old. He hasn't been looking the best recently. He's coming off back-to-back losses to, I guess, some of the best ones in this division, and Peter Yan and Corey Sandhagen. Prior to that, he was on a 3-fight win streak, but they weren't any crazy wins. We had Rob Font, former unk, Cody Garbrandt, former unk, Marlon Vera, current punching bag. And with Deiveson Figueiredo, he is the scariest unk in the division, and he low-key always shows up like he's a supervillain. And he could arguably go into the the best unk in the division, but I gotta throw some respect. Yes, he's lost back-to-back to two of the unks that we have in the honorable mention, but I gotta show my boy Cody No Love, one of the younger unks that we have here, some respect. Former champion, and is he the best all around? No. You know, he's one of these dudes who peaked at high school and he starts to bring it up during the barbecue, the family night barbecue. It's the same thing in the octagon. He peaked that one night and that was it. He's fighting like he's in 2016. His chin left the chat a long ass time ago. And yeah, he lost to both of the unks that we have here in Figueiredo and in Ronnie Barcelos. And honestly would probably get knocked out by the punching bag himself, Marlon Vera. But gotta throw some respect on the boy Cody. And yeah, let's keep moving down though. Featherweight division. Again, we got some unks in this division. I think this might be the oldest sets of unks that we have here. First honorable mention, 39 years old. I got Edson Barboza. Edson Barboza, one of the original unks in the UFC, the dude who just refuses to stop kicking these trees with those crazy kicks. And you know, low-key one of these weird unks, you know, every fight he throws 20 leg kicks just to prove he can still feel some pain. And recently, has he been doing the best? No, some canceled fights here and there. He lost to Lerone Murphy. It is what it is. Some people thought he won that, some people thought he lost that one. Prior to that, you know, he beat Billy Quarantillo, he beat Sadiq Youssef. Coming up here, he's supposed to be fighting 319 against another unk in Drakkar Klose. He deserves to be in this honorable mention spot. Another honorable mention. I got another heavy-hitting unk in the division. 40 years old, Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett, you know, one of these, you know, typical meathead type of unks. You know, the dude would knock you out cold and then yell at you for not taking enough protein and creatine. He's been a win-win, lose-win type of fighter. Biggest highlight was his knockout over Bryce Mitchell, but let's get into the real unk, the best unk in this division, and by far the oldest unk that we have, I think, in this entire video. 41 years old, win one, lose one fighter, Cub Swanson. He's, you know, he's UFC's cool unk. He's been fighting since, you know, the MySpace age. And, you know, recently, win one, lose one type of fighter. He just won his last fight against Quarantillo. He's probably going to lose his next one because that's what he's been like for the past 5 years. But one of the best unks in the division, one of the cooler unks. Let's keep moving down, though. Lightweight division. Lightweight division, we have 3 honorable mentions here. First one, Jeremy Stephens. Now, I try not to have fighters here that are no longer part of the UFC. Like, I wasn't going to keep on picking on Anthony Smith, but Jeremy Stephens just got back into the UFC, had a good fight against Mason Jones, a really fun, entertaining fight, and ended up losing it. It is what it is. 39 years old. And, you know, one of these unks that you would invite to your wedding and then just see shadow boxing in the corner. Let's keep moving down, though. Another unk that could arguably have gone into the best position. It's just recency bias. But right now, I got Jim Miller, another one of these super old-time vets. Another 41-year-old vet. And, you know, he's fought in more decades than some fighters have fights. And he's basically a living UFC NFT at this point. He's very glitchy. He's a vintage artifact. Somehow this dude's still active. And recently been a win one, lose one. You know, he lost against Bobby Green, won against Damon Jackson, lost against Chase Hooper. Hopefully Unk is gaining another win here in his next fight. But moving down, another honorable mention. We have to have Bobby Green here. Bobby Green, you know, scheduled to be honestly knocked out again against Diego Ferreira, and especially at 38 years old, it ain't looking too good for my boy. But you know, Bobby Green seen every single UFC contract pretty much since the Fatia era, and one of these unks who he'll lose his wallet and blame everyone there except for himself, saying that, you know, they stole it from him, they pickpocketed it from him, he doesn't take no accountability. We got Bobby Green here. But there can only be one winner, one best unk in this division. And again, probably recency bias. It's gotta be my boy Michael Johnson. Especially at 39 years old, going out here and beating 3 back-to-back guys. 2 of them, not really 2 of them, but mainly the Daniel Zellhuber fight. He's a type of unk who still spars once a day, wakes up the next day with a new CTE story. It has to be Michael Johnson. It's probably because of the recency bias, but I don't care. Let's go down to welterweight, though. Welterweight, again, another welterweight and middleweight, specifically middleweight, though, is just a land of unks. But welterweight right now, I got 3 honorable mentions. First up, Michael Chiesa. Chiesa, 37 years old, a little bit young in these Unk divisions, but you know, he's one of these typical Unks who has the posture of someone who's permanently trying to take a shit. He's not Unk by age, but by attitude, and he already fights like one, so might as well have him on this list. And you know, he's had a good few last fights, you know, 3-fight win streak, but again, they're against other Unks like Tony Ferguson, Max Griffin, Court McGee, some serious if you know type of Unks. But let's keep moving down. I have RDA here. RDA here is one of these Unks that are, you know, 40 years old, probably has 3 different birth certificates, all of them saying OG, and he's not just like one of these Unks, he's one of these founding fathers of these Unks. And it got so bad where, you know, the body is literally shutting down on him, where we saw against Jeff Neal last year, this dude's body's breaking apart. That's what happens when you become an Unk. But let's get into, honestly, this dude could have been the winner, that could have been the best of the best. I regret not having him as the best. Another honorable mention, one of the older guys here, I got to have Wonder Boy here. And Wonder Boy, one of these cool karate Unks who teaches his nieces and nephews how to throw some classic spinning shit. But yeah, we have to have Wonder Boy on this list. But let's keep moving down to the best Unk in the welterweight division. And I guess you can just do best in this situation, performances wise, best, you know, still top of their game. I got 38-year-old Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman aged 10 years during that Leon trilogy. Man's knees literally have CTE. He went from the Nigerian Nightmare to the Nigerian Unk in 18 months. I don't know what else you can say about this dude. He is the best Unk at welterweight. But yeah, let's get into the, honestly, middleweight is the land of Unks. There's so many Unks I could have had here. I'm only gonna have 3, 2 honorable mentions, 1 actual best. Honorable mention number 1, someone who's been here forever, Brad Tavares, 37 years old. He's had so many UFC fights. Literally, if you look at this dude's first contract, it's written in Latin. But yeah, a staple in the Unk divisions, a staple in just the land of the Unks right now. Let's keep moving down to Kevin Gastelum. Kevin Gastelum he's not even that old. He's 33 years old. He's technically still in his prime, but you know, it's almost like this dude is permanently just coming off Thanksgiving, you know, heavy breathing, slow, looks like he's gonna shit himself any second. Yes, he's nostalgic, but he's one of the only fighters who simultaneously is too small for 185 and too tired to try to go for 170. So Kevin Gastelum has to be on this list. Let's get into the man himself, though. Arguably the best Unk on this entire video. You have to have GM3 here. 37-year-old GM3. GM3, you know, the final big bad boss at any Midwest grappling gyms anywhere in the world. Let's get into the light heavyweight division, though. Light heavyweight division. Honorable mention. Gotta have the boy Volkan Oezdemir. 35 years old. Again, this dude's still low-key in his prime. But, you know, his name is no time. It's more like old time. He's been here forever. And is it just me, or does this dude not look like he's forklift certified? It looks like he comes to the UFC just after getting off his forklift shift. Volkan Oezdemir has to be on this list, especially at light heavyweight. Another Unk, honestly, he could probably go into the best one here. It's just recent performance-wise, and I don't know. Recency bias. It has to be recency bias. But one of the oldest dudes on this entire list, 42-year-old Jan Blachowicz. Blachowicz is, you know, a peak Eastern European uncle. You know, he's the strong, serious, and low-key magical with that magic Polish power. And he low-key took the soul out of another Unk on this list, which I'm going to have here as the best Unk. Again, recency bias. Has to be Dominic Reyes. This dude is 35 years old. He's pretty much in his prime. But he's an Unk, and he's on a title run, which is insane to say. Reyes, he's low-key aged like banana bread in the sun after that John Jones fight, but recently has come out here and is on, what is it now, a 3-fight win streak, all by knockout, and is arguably 1 to 2 fights away from a title fight. But yeah, complete 180 for Dominic Reyes. That's why I have him as the best one here. Let's finish this video off and finish it off strong in the heavyweight division. Heavyweight division, I thought these dudes were a lot older than what they actually are. But some of these dudes are young. We got some young Unks in here. We got 34-year-old Curtis Blades. He's, he's one of these unks that he'll greet you by double legging you. He'll slam you down as a greeting if he hasn't seen you in a while. And yeah, one of these classic unks. I honestly thought Blades was a lot older, but 34. I thought, but 34, he's still a young buck unk in this division. But let's keep moving down. 36-year-old Alexander Volkov. Volkov is the tallest unk in this group, but looks like he's been 40 for 20 years. He pretty much moves like a skyscraper with joint pain, let's be realistic. But moving down, the best unk in this division, again, recency bias, has to be 40-year-old Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis is one of these unks that he's fighting like it's late at the cookout. He's literally the textbook definition of a drunk Sunday backyard barbecue cookout. When them ribs are gone, he's throwing these hands. But yeah, those are every single unks in the division and the best one in every single division. Let me know, how many times did your boy say unk in this video? And let me know if I missed out on anyone. But that being said, thank you guys for watching to the end of the video. And I will see you guys in my next video.